Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lunch for the Soul. I'm Melissa Wilson from Fox 26 News. I'm a morning news anchor here, but also a medical reporter. And this is just a time where we get to sit and talk about incredible things that are happening in life with people who use faith as their basis. And today's going to be a struggle of a health problem. You are not going to believe what a local family has been through, but the power of prayer got them through it. They are on the other side now, and I cannot wait to introduce our guest. So please, let's put our hands together. First of all, for Chris Crouch, who's joining us right now. Good morning, or I should say good afternoon to you by now. Welcome to Lunch for the Soul. Wow, what a story you have to share. And we're just going to start from the very beginning of what happened. First of all, you are a dad of 5 and your wife was pregnant and the unthinkable happened. She started suffering from COVID-19 and that led to almost 5 months in the hospital. So let's go back to August. So she wasn't feeling well and it just went down from there. What happened?
Yeah, we were in July. We were in Vegas for our anniversary, and we had a good time. But she did complain of having a headache,
Mhm.
and so we didn't think anything of it. We thought it was part of the pregnancy. At this point, she was around 17 weeks pregnant. We made it home, and she started to get fatigue a couple of days later, and the headache never went away. And then she started to develop a fever. We just thought it was more a part of just the pregnancy still, just didn't think much of it. So finally, about a week later, we go to Kingwood ER to get, tested for COVID, and she tests positive. And doctor sent us home, said, just monitor, keep her hydrated. And then the very next night, we went to Kingwood ER. She couldn't breathe. She complained of not breathing anymore.
And such a beautiful woman, your wife, my goodness, and such a loving mom. And things went crazy fast, didn't they? I mean, when it started going downhill, it was a major downhill slide.
Yeah, I didn't think much of it. I mean, I guess I was oblivious to the news or something, but I didn't think people were ending up on ventilators. I don't know where I was, because it never crossed my mind. So we were at Texas Children's Pavilion for Women, and then we were there for 4 days on oxygen. And then they brought up a ventilator, and that's when everything kind of hit me, like, how serious is this getting? And then finally, I saw her struggling to breathe on oxygen, and the doctor said she's going to have to go on a ventilator. So that was one of the hardest decisions to make, because, you didn't know if she was going to wake up on the other end.
Yeah.
So I told her, she was crying. She was fighting the staff. She's like, I'm never going to wake up again if you put me on a ventilator. And I promised her, the last words I promised her was, I promise you're not going to die. And then they took me out of the room. And then when I came back, she was on a ventilator.
Oh my goodness. And so you're going through that, but at the same time, you have 4 children at home. And we're talking the strictest of COVID rules to protect your wife and everybody else in the hospital. So once you went there, how did you balance the family? Because you couldn't leave, could you?
No, I was lucky to just be allowed to be in the room, but they said once you leave, you can't return. And my wife was very critical at that time, so I had to stay. I didn't see any of my family for the first 21 days while my wife was dwindling, basically, and it was just so hard to deal with. Luckily they allowed family to bring food and my friends to bring food, and my mom brought me a Bible and a cross, and I used that every day to get me through those tough times. And it's the hardest thing, not being able to be there for your children because they're wondering where mommy's at.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're watching your wife suffer and you're stuck in her room for 21 days. It really takes a toll on your mind.
And look at these beautiful children. Let me take this one banner off so that we can see. There's the other one down there. Oh, such beautiful, precious children. So thank goodness for your in-laws. That helped a lot, right? Really fill in the gaps.
They immediately kind of moved in, and I thanked them as much as I could. And they said, "Don't worry about us. Don't worry about the children. We got it from here. Make sure our daughter comes home." And that was what I was motivated to do, is just, be there with her and with the doctors to make sure that we do the right treatment to get her baby home.
One thing I've seen. Oh, go ahead.
at this point, I still thought that we were going to have a normal pregnancy. I thought, being on the ventilator a couple of weeks, and then we'd get back home, around week 22, 23, and I still thought everything was going to be normal, but
Mhm.
it didn't turn out that way.
No, it went downhill from there. And I want to say quickly before we get into the unbelievable things that your wife survived, that a lot of people who've been going through this, and many of our viewers may have suffered something like this, a lot of people can't take that amount of time off from work. So I want to bring in the fact that you have a very important job. So as a Harris County Sheriff's Deputy, it's incredible to see you here in your uniform, but you had some time built up and they really worked with you, didn't they, for you to be there for your family?
Yeah, thankfully, out on patrol, my lieutenant and my captain at that time, they told me, just do be with your wife. We got it from here. Don't worry about it.
Hmm.
So I was allowed to take up to 9 weeks off. Just thankfully, just the time that I accumulated.
Yeah.
So I was thankful for that. But I did eventually have to go back to work. So
Well,
I
that
kind of
was huge that you got that time. What a blessing. All right, so now I want to get into what was going on with your wife. Okay, so the problem was the ventilator ended up not even being strong enough. And so doctors had to use something here that you see her hooked up to, we'll just call it ECMO because it's such a long word, but we're talking a lung machine to keep her alive. And that comes with all kinds of risks, the doctor told me. So then this beautiful young woman suffered from 3 strokes, a heart attack, and then started having seizures. How in the world did you manage the emotional roller coaster, all of that within 24 hours?
um, just I text some friends, close friends of mine, and told them, just say a prayer for us. And you're almost standing there speechless because everything is so overwhelming. You don't,
Yeah.
perfectly healthy woman is just on life support, and then
Mm.
you see her having strokes, and then a heart attack, and then she's having seizures. It's all, everything's hitting you all at once. It's so much that I didn't really know what to even do.
Mhm.
I didn't drop down or cry or anything. I just was stunned. And at this point, I was kind of like, all right, nobody's giving me any bad news yet, like death wise. So I think we can still keep fighting.
And
So
what
it
might
was,
surprise a lot of people about this too is that your wife was being treated at Texas Children's Hospital because they have that amazing pavilion for women because she was pregnant. She was the perfect fit for that. And the doctors there was one in particular who prayed with you, right? Let's talk a little more about that and how that helped you so much.
yeah. Dr. Cameron, he was working that week, and which was the worst week probably since we've been there. And he came in the morning while she had already had her strokes and her seizures, and she was laying there basically in a coma,
Mm.
unresponsive. She was just there, and I'm over here still like not knowing what's going on. Nobody can tell me what the CT scans were showing. So he sits me down and he says, like, if this is what I think it is, it's not good. You may have to start, planning life without your wife. And that was hard. I told him I didn't come here for a funeral. I came here to bring my wife home and my baby. So it has my name misspelled, but anyway, as Chris Couch. But um,
Oh,
so
not
I said,
yeah,
what do we
you're not
do?
the couch. You're crouch. Go ahead.
So and so happens all the time. But so I said, what do we do? What am I supposed to do? I have to go home to a family. What am I supposed to do from here? And he's like, let's pray. And we prayed. We prayed, for a couple minutes, and then we both shared tears.
Mm.
He's a father. I'm a father. He's married, and he understood. He kind of would put himself in my shoes. So when he went to go look at the CT scan, it wasn't a brainstem stroke, what he thought, which means she would have been brain dead if it was. So it wasn't. So I said, where do we go from here? And he's like, we have to, get a game plan together. So I told him, I said, I know this sounds crazy, but I know she's going to make it, man. I know she is. We were at our worst point there at the hospital, and I felt more confident than ever after praying about it. And a few days later, she started to move her right side, and then she just slowly started to improve after that.
And then let's advance on. So she was doing better, but then she suffered a collapsed lung and then she got an infection. And at 32 weeks is when the doctor said, okay, we have got to take this baby. We've waited long enough. And she'd been in the hospital since what, 18 weeks pregnancy?
She was since August 6th till November. So, I mean, it's already 3.5 months maybe.
Yeah.
And they were actually, before the baby was born, maybe a couple weeks before, they were actually thinking that she was going to leave the hospital or at least go full term, because she was improving. But then she kind of hit a plateau where she wasn't improving anymore. And she started to struggle on the ventilator. Like, we started seeing the settings going back up, which she was, to get off the ventilator, they have to be going down. So then she started to get an infection, and the doctor decided to, maybe the baby is what's hindering her improvement. So they decided to do a C-section, which was, the due date was January 9th, and baby Cameron was born November 10th.
Oh, let's bring in a picture of that handsome young man. What a blessing that your doctor says that for that size, he was actually pretty big. He was 4.5 pounds, which for a premature infant was good, and ended up going home a few weeks before your wife.
Yeah. He was there at Texas Children's 3 to 4 weeks. He made it home December 8th, and no issues. He was healthy as healthy as a premature baby can be, which was a blessing. We have so much on our plate at the time. We didn't want to have any other issues. Thanks to God.
The doctor we were talking about, Dr. Cameron Desoulian, is who you named him after. So his first name was Cameron, and you said, you know what? We're going to name our baby that. Tell me more about that moment when your wife and you made this decision that name was going to live with your family forever.
Yeah, we name the boys in our family, and I'm Chris, my son's Christian. We have Kane, and now we have Cameron. They're all C names, so we wanted to stick with the C name. And there are a lot of great doctors at Texas Children's, and I wanted to, because I know a lot of these stories out there saying, that he mainly, it was his passion that drew us, that he wanted to, it just, I don't know, it's just very captivating, his passion. He just wanted to see Diana get better, and just praying with me and stuff like that. So obviously, when Diana was able to understand a lot of things, I make sure I ran it by her, because I didn't want to name the son something that she didn't agree with. But when I told him, he started crying, and everybody was crying next to Diana. Everybody, like doctors, nurses, everybody was crying. It was a nice moment there, and I just said, look, we want to have, our baby needs to have a story too, So with all the hard work that he did, and that everybody did, it was just fitting.
It's just incredible that you were able to just have that moment, all of those moments with that doctor. And when I talked to you earlier, you told me that, first of all, there were more than 100 care workers for your wife and baby. And so that was one thing that your doctor told me, is I don't want to take credit. It was a huge team effort. But at the same time, he was the one who kept telling you over and over, right? She's going to do this. I have the faith that she's going to survive. And that kept you going.
Yeah, there was times doctors go in there and they're honest with you, and they're just telling you basically it doesn't look good, and you hear that. And when you're in there so many days, you want to hear just a little bit of positive news. And Dr. Cameron was always like, she's going to get through this. She's young. The baby's going to be okay. And it's nice to hear that. And then the way he works, you can just tell he's trying to get us out of the hospital however way he can. He's like that with a lot of other patients there. I talked to other family members on that floor, and they all say the same thing. And, it's, to be honest, he didn't share this with me at the time, but later on, after her stroke, he said he fasted for a week to get the strength and to make the decisions for Diana. That's amazing to hear your doctor fasting patient. You don't hear that that often.
Incredible. And I really enjoyed interviewing him. And I wish I don't have a picture of him. I don't know. I'm going to try to hold this up and see. So everyone, there we go. I wanted to show everybody a screenshot of when I got to talk to him. So that's who we're talking about at Texas Children's Hospital. Just an incredible human being. And what I love as a medical reporter is I interview doctors all the time. But when I talked to him, he broke down in tears at talking about your case, because he cared so much for your family. How much did it mean to you to not just be another number, that he thought of you as family? And I understand you still stay in touch with him today.
Yeah, we text every single day. He texts me every day, how's Diana? How's Diana? Can you come over and have dinner and stuff like that? And that was the thing that, I don't know, I guess the C name, Cameron, is what drew my attention. son Cameron. But had his name been David, I probably would have named him David, just because he was just
You would have broken up the C roll.
yeah, it was just his approach, and it's hard to explain. And everything happens for a reason. And like me and my wife like to stick to the C names. His approach, our belief in God, his faith, our faith, everything just came together. And when you have a lot of dark days in the hospital, it's nice to see a doctor walking around there that shares the same faith as you and believes the same as you. And if he had felt maybe differently about our situation, he didn't show it with me and with Diana. So we're grateful for that.
Yeah, it seems like it definitely made a big difference. Well, when we take a look back at how far she's come, I mean, we look at these pictures and she just looks miserable. It looks so scary. Tell us about what's happening now. So she's walking around. She's still wearing oxygen a little bit here and there.
Yeah, she came home with oxygen. She was on 2 liters, which isn't very much. But now she's on 1 liter at home, and she walks around the house without oxygen. And we go to the grocery store, we go to Target, we go to Dollar Store, and she needs oxygen, but she doesn't need her wheelchair anymore, so she's able to walk around. So we anticipate she'll probably be off oxygen completely in about another month, and she'll be fully recovered. So, which is way ahead of what doctors had predicted.
And what has that balancing act been like with her coming home, still trying to fully recover, still going to different types of physical therapy to get stronger, and then balancing being a mom of 5, busy mom?
Yeah, it's tough, but we tell her just focus on working on yourself. We got a good support system. Her mom and dad have moved in and are helping out tremendously with baby Cameron and the 7-year-old daughter. And I take Miranda to school, and I get the other 2 on the weekends and everything. They're old enough to kind of be on their own a little bit at home. So it's a little difficult, but we make sure that we let her know that she's not a burden, and just focus on your mental health and your physical health. And it works really good. That's why she's improving so fast.
Well, and you're such a good spokesperson for the family to share your story, because when I talk to her, she doesn't remember really much of anything. So it's more of your story and what you witnessed her go through than versus her really understanding. She understands what she went through, but she doesn't really remember much of it.
Yeah. I have a good memory as it is. It's odd how good my memory is, but they're the star of this story, and they don't really know much. So, which is crazy, but, the baby Cameron's also, the miracle, and Diana's the miracle. And, it's taken a lot of toll on me mentally to see your wife and, your baby going through all that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Don't aren't like that, but it was difficult. But I think I'm strong enough to get through it. So.
Oh, of course you are. And I think faith makes such a big difference in that. Don't you think that being able to rely on that prayer and being able to have that feeling that everything's going to be okay really makes a difference?
Yeah. When you wake up to like 15, 20 text messages every day with we're praying for you, God is on the throne, have faith. It gets you through the day. There are a lot of discouraging moments throughout the day when you're there 139 days. But I can't, stress enough on my family and my friends who've just reached out and helped me so much. And sometimes when I had no other option, I would just pray and then pray all night until I fell asleep. Wake up praying and take a shower and I'm praying. It was just a lot of prayer, and our prayers were answered.
Chris, you have a beautiful story and an incredible family to share with us. Thank you for being vulnerable to share this with us. Thanks for what you do for our community with your job, and then just for being a stellar husband. And it's just been incredible to see how you have treated Diana. And I feel like we can all learn from you. So bless you. Only good health for your family from here on out.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Lunch for the Soul. And I want to remind you all to please join us every Wednesday right here. 12:30 is a place to be. Just wait until next Wednesday. I have another incredible guest I can't wait to introduce you to. It is, in fact, maybe a woman that you've seen stories about her through the years. About 23 years ago, her home burned down in Houston and her toddler twins. She did everything she could to get them out. Her other kids got out, but one of her toddlers ended up dying in that fire. She was burned on much of her body, but she has gone on since then to raise awareness. It happens to be Burn Awareness Month. So we're going to talk about what you need to do to help protect your family. She had a plan in place, and she said the only reason that she feels like her whole family survived that was because of their fire safety plan that they had put into place long before their home burned down. So join me next Wednesday, 12:30 right here for that very important conversation. Be blessed. Thank you for being a blessing by joining me today, and we hope you have a beautiful day. Take care.